The Hortlak story out of the book Magic for the Beginners. Eric was night and Batu was day. The girl Charlie was the moon. Every night she drove past the all night in her long noisy green Chewy, a dog hanging out the passenger window. It was not ever the same dog, although they all had the same blissful expression. They were doomed, but they did not know it. We like it here very much. The all-night convenience was fully stocked, self-sufficient organisms, like the Starship Enterprise or the Kon-Tiki. Batu went on and on about this. They did not work retail anymore. They were on a voyage of discovery, one in which they had no need to leave the all night, not even do laundry. Batu washed his pajamas and the extra uniform in the sink in the back. He even washed Eric's clothes. That was the kind of friend Batu was. Are you here on holiday? Or during his shift? Eric listened for Charlie's car. At first she went by on her way to the shelter and then, during her shift, she took the dogs out driving. Put the stone first in one direction and then back again, 2 or 3 times in one night. The lights of her headlights picking out the long black cap of the Audible chaff, a bright slap across the windows of the all night. Eric's heart lifted whenever a car went past. The zombies came in and he was polite to them and failed to understand what they wanted. And sometimes real people came in and bought candy or cigarettes or beer. The zombies were never around when the real people were around, and Charlie never showed up when the zombies were there. Charlie looked like someone from a Greek play, Electra or Cassandra. She looked like someone had just set her favorite city on fire. Eric had thought that even before he knew about the dogs. Sometimes, when she did not have a dog in the Chewy, Charlie came into the all-night convenience to buy a Mountain Dew, and then she and Batu would go outside to sit on the curb. Batu was teaching her turkeys. Sometimes Eric went outside as well to smoke a cigarette. He did not really smoke, but it meant he got to look at Charlie, the way the moonlight sat on her like a hand. Sometimes he looked back. Wind would rise up out of the Audible Chasm Road into the parking lot of the all night tugging at Batu's pajama bottom, pulling away the cigarette smoke that hung out of Eric's mouth. Charlie's bangs would float up off her forehead until she clamped them down with her fingers. Batu said he was not flirting. He did not have a thing for Charlie. He was interested in her because Eric was interested. Batu wanted to know what Charlie's story was. He said he needed to know if she was good enough for Eric for the all-night convenience. There was a lot at stake. What Eric wanted to know was, why did Batu have so many pajamas? But Eric did not want to seem nosy. There was not a lot of in the all night. If Batu wanted Eric to know about the pajamas, then one day he did tell him. It was as simple as that. Do you have a boyfriend? Recently Batu had evolved past the need for more than 2 or 3 hours sleep, which was good in some ways and bad in others. Eric had a suspicion he might figure out how to talk to Charlie if Batu was tucked away, back in the store's closet, dreaming his own sweet dreams and not scheming schemes, doing all the flirting on Eric's behalf, so that Eric never had to say a thing. Eric had even rehearsed the start of conversation. Charlie would say, "Where is Batu?" And Eric would say, "Asleep," or even sleeping in the closet. Charlie's story, he worked night shift at the animal center. Every night when Charlie got to work, she checked the list to see which dogs were on the schedule. She took the dogs, any, that were not too ill or too mean. out for one last drive around town. Then she drove them back and she put them to sleep. She did this with an injection. She sat on the floor and patted them until they were not breathing anymore. When she was telling Batu this, Batu sitting for far too close to her. Eric not close enough. Eric had this thought, which was what it would be like to lie down and put Charlie's life. But the longest conversation that he had ever managed with Charlie was with Charlie on one side of the counter, him on the other, when he had explained that they were not taking money anymore. At least, not unless people wanted to give them money. I want a mount, Charlie had said, making sure Eric understood that. I know, Eric said. He tried to show with his eyes how much he knew and how much he didn't, but wanted to know. I'm supposed to give you what you want, Eric said, and then you give me what you want to give me. It does not have to be about money. It does not even have to be something, tangible. Sometimes people tell Batu their dreams if they don't have anything interesting in their wallets. All I want is a Mountain Dew, Charlie said. But she must have seen the panic on Eric's face and she dug in her pocket instead of change. She pulled out a set of dog tags and flung it down on the counter. This dog is no longer alive, she said. It was not a very big dog, and I think it was part Chihuahua and part Collie, and how pitiful is that? You should have seen it. Its owner brought it in because it would jump up on her bed in the morning, lick her face, and get so excited that it would pee. I don't know, maybe she thought someone else would want to adopt an ugly little bed-waiting dog, but nobody did, and so now it is not alive anymore. I killed it. I'm sorry, Eric said. Charlie leaned her elbow against the counter. She was so closed. He could smell her smell, chemical, burnt doggy. There were dog hairs on her clothes. I killed it, Charlie said. She sounded angry at him, not you. When Eric looked at her, he saw that that city was still on fire, it was still burning down, and Charlie was watching it burn. She was still holding the dog tag. She let go and then they lay there on the counter until Eric picked them up and put them in the register. This is all Batu's item, Charlie said. Right. She went outside and sat on the curb, and in a while Batu came out of the storage closet and went outside as well. Batu's pajama bottom was sick. There were smiling hydrocephalic cartoon cats on them, and the cats carried children in their mouths. Either the children were mouse-sized or the cats were bear-sized. The children were either screaming or laughing. Batu's pajama top was wet, flannel, faded with grey tones, and had hats in baskets. Eric stayed inside. He leaned his face against the window every once in a while, as if he could hear what they are saying, but even if he could have heard, and he guessed he would not have understood the shapes their mouths made like Turkish words. Eric hoped they were talking about Jupiter. It's going to snow. The way the all night worked at the moment was Batu's idea. They sized up the customers before they got to the counter. That had always been part of retail. If the customer was the right sort, then Batu or Eric gave the customer what they said they needed, and the customer paid with money. Sometimes and sometimes with other things. Pot, books on tape, souvenir, maple syrup tins. They were near the border. They got a lot of Canadians. Eric suspected someone, maybe a traveling Canadian pajama salesman, was supplying Batu with novelty pajama. Are you waiting to? what Batu thought Eric should say to Charlie if he really liked her. Come live with me. Come live at the all night. What Eric thought about saying to Charlie, if you are going away, take me with you. I am about to be 20 years old and I have never been to college. I sleep days in a storage closet, wearing someone else's pajamas. I have worked retail jobs since I was 16. I know people are hateful. If you need to bite someone, you can bite me. Shall we go somewhere else? Charlie drives by. There is a little black dog in the passenger window, leaning out to swallow the fast air. There is a yellow dog, an Irish setter, a Doberman, a guitar. Charlie has rolled the window so far down that these dogs could jump out if they wanted. When she stops the car at a light, but the dogs don't jump. So Charlie drives them back again. Batu said it was clear Charlie had a great capacity for hating and also a great capacity for love. Charlie's hatred was seasonal. In the months after Christmas puppies started growing, people got tired of trying to house train them. All February or March, Charlie hated people. She hated people in December too, just for practice. Being in love, Batu said, like working retail, meant that you had to settle for being hated, at least part of the year. That was what the months after Christmas were all about. Neither system, not love, not retail, was perfect. When you looked at dogs, you saw this, that love did not work. Batu said it was likely that Charlie, both her person and her chewy, were in fact infested with dog ghosts. These ghosts were different from the zombies. Non-human ghosts, he said, were the most difficult of all ghosts to dislodge, and dogs were worst of all. There is nothing as persistent, as loyal, as clingy as a dog. So can you see these ghosts? Eric said. Don't be ridiculous. Batu said. You can't see that kind of ghost. You smell them. Are there any tourist attractions around here? I wonder. Eric woke up and found it was dark. It was always dark when he woke up, and this was always a surprise. There was a little window on the back wall of the storage closet, which framed the dark like a picture. You could feel the cold night air propping up the walls of the all night, thick and weight asleep. Batu had let him asleep in, but was considerate of other pupils sleep. All day long in Eric's dream, the store manager had arrived one after another, announced themselves, expressed dismay at the way Batu had reinvented, compromised convenience retail. In Eric's dream, Batu had put his large, handsome arm over the shoulder of the store manager, promised to explain everything in a satisfactory manner if they would only come and see. The store manager had all gone, in a docile, trusting way, trotting after Batu across the road, looking both ways to the edge of the Ozival chest. They stood there, in Eric's dream, peering down into the chest. And then Batu had Eric bathed, standing up at the sink and put on his uniform. He brushed his teeth. The closet smelled like sleep. It was the middle of February and there was snow in the all-night parking lot. Batu was clearing the parking lot, carrying shovelfuls of snow across the road, dumping the snow into the Ozival chest. Eric went outside for a smoke and watched. He did not offer to help. He was still upset about the way Batu had behaved in his dream. There was no moon, but the snow was lit by its own whiteness. There was the shadowy figure of Batu, carrying in front of him the shadowy scoop of the shovel, full of snow like an enormous spoon full of falling light, which was still falling all around them. The snow came down, and Eric's smoke went up and up. He walked across the road to where Batu stood, peering down into the Ozival chest. Down in the chest, it was no darker than the kind of dark the rest of the world, including Eric. Especially, Eric was used to. Snow fell into the chest the way snow fell on the rest of the world, and yet There was wind coming out of jars that worried Al. What do you think is down there? Batu said. Zombieland, Alex said. He could almost taste it. Jumbo, They have everything down there. There's even supposed to be a drive-in movie theater down there. Somewhere that shows old black and white horror movies all night long. Zombie churches with AA meeting for zombies. Down in the basement every Thursday night. Yeah, Batu said. Zombies bar too. Where they were zombies. They serve zombies. Eric said, my friend, Deb went down once. When we were in high school on a date, he used to tell us all kinds of stories. You ever go? Batu said, pointing with his empty shovel at the narrow, crumbling path that went down into the chasm. I never went to college. I have never ever even been to Canada, Eric said. Not even when I was in high school to buy beer. All night, the zombies came out of the chasm, holding handful of snow. They carried the snow across the road and into the parking lot and wrapped it there. Batu was back in the closet, sending off faxes, and Eric was glad about this, that Batu could not see what the zombies were up to. That Batu could not see. Zombies came into the store tracking in salt and melting snow. Eric hated mopping up after the zombies. He sat on the counter, facing the road, hoping Charlie would drive by soon. 2 weeks ago, Charlie had bitten a man who brought his dog to the animal center to be put down. The man was bringing his dog because it had bit him. He said, but Charlie said, you knew when you saw this guy and when you saw the dog that the dog had a very good reason. This man had a tattoo of a mermaid coiled around his meaty forearm, and even this mermaid had an unpleasant look to her. Scary, corseted bottom, tiny black dot eyes, a sore, fangy smile. Charlie said it was as if even the mermaid were telling her to bite the arm, and so she did. When she did, the dog went nuts. The guy dropped its leash. He was trying to get Charlie off his arm. The dog, misunderstanding the situation, or rather understanding the situation, but not the larger situation, had grabbed Charlie by her leg, sticking its teeth into her calf. Both Charlie and the dog's owner had needed stitches, but it was the dog who was doomed. Nothing had changed there. Charlie's boss at the shelter was going to fire her anytime soon. In fact, he had fired her, but they had not found someone to take her shift yet. And so, she was working there for a few more days under a different name. Everyone at the shelter understood why she had to bite the man. Charlie said she was going to drive all the way Canada. Maybe keep on going up into Alaska. So go watch bears pick through garbage. When a bear hibernates, she told Batu and Eric, it sleeps all winter and never goes to the bathroom. So when she wakes up in spring, she is very constipated. The first thing she does is take this really painful shit, and then she goes and jumps in a river. She is really pissed off now about everything. When she comes covered in ice, it's like armor. She goes on a rampage and she is wearing armor. Isn't that great? That bear can take a bite out of anything it wants. My sleep has come. The snow kept falling. Sometimes it stopped. Charlie came by. Eric had bad dreams. Batu did not go to bed. When the zombies come in, he followed them around the store, taking notes. The zombies did not care at all. They were done with all that. Batu was wearing Eric's favorite pajamas. These were blue and had towering Hakusai style, white blue waves and and up on the up on the wave, looking owlish. If you looked closely, you could see that the owls were gripping newspapers in their wings, and if you looked even closer, you could read the date and the headlines. Tsunami sweeps pushy overboard all his lots. Badu has spent a lot of time reorganizing the candy acid according to chewiness and meltiness. The week before, he had arranged it so that if you took the first letter of every candy, reading across from left to right, and then down, it had spelled out the first sentence of To Kill a Mockingbird, and then also a line of Turkish poetry. Something about the moon. The zombies came and went, and Batu put his notebook away. He said, I am going to go ahead and put jerky with sugar daddies. It's almost a candy. It's very chewy. About as chewy as you can get. Chewy meat gum. Frothy meat drink. Eric said automatically. They were always thinking of products that no one would ever want to buy and that no one would ever try to sell. Squeezable pork. It's on your mind. It's in your mouth. It's pork. Remember that ad campaign. She can come alive with us. Batu said. It's the same old, it's only a little more urgent each time he gave it. The all-night needs woman, especially woman like Charlie. She falls in love with you. I don't mind one bit. What about you? Eric said. What about me? Batu said. Charlie and I have the Turkish language. That's enough. Tell me something I need. I don't even need seed. What are you talking about? Eric said. He hated when Batu talked about Charlie, except that he loved hearing her name. Batu said the all night is a great place to raise a family. Everything you need right here. Diapers, Vienna, sausages, grape-scented magic markers, moon pies, kids like moon pies, and then one day, when they are tall enough, we teach them how to operate the register. There are laws against that, Eric said. Mars needs woman, not the all night. And we are running out of moon pies. He turned his back on Batu. Some of Batu's pajamas worry Eric. He won't wear these, although Batu has told him that he may wear any pajamas he likes. For example, ocean liners navigating icebergs on a pair of pajamas bottoms. A man with an enormous pair of scissors running after a woman whose long hair whips out behind them like red and yellow flags. They are moving so fast, spider webs with houses stuck to them. A few nights ago, about 2 or 3 in the morning, a woman came into the store. Batu was over by the magazines and the woman bent and stood next to Batu. Batu's eyes were closed, although that does not necessarily mean he was asleep. The woman stood and flicked through magazines, and then, at some point, she realized that the man standing there with his eyes closed was wearing pajamas. She stood reading through Pupil magazine and started reading Batu's pajamas instead. Where then she gasped and poked Batu with her skinny finger. Where did you get those? She said. How on earth did you get those? Batu opened his eyes. Excuse me, he said. May I help you find something? You are wearing my diary, the woman said. Her voice went up and up in a way. That's my handwriting. That's the diary that I kept when I was 14, but it had a lock on it, and I hid it under my mattresses. I never let anyone read it. Nobody ever read it. Batu held out his arm. That's not true, he said. I have read it. You have very nice handwriting, very distinctive. My favorite part is when the woman screamed. She put her hands over her ears and walked backward down the essay and still screaming, turned around and ran out of the store. What was that about? Alice said. What was up with her? I don't know what he said. The thing is, I thought she looked familiar. I was right. Huh. What are the odds? You think the woman who kept that diary coming in the store like that? Maybe you should not wear those anymore, Alice said. Just in case she come back. Can I come? Batu had originally worked Tuesday through Saturday, second shift. Now he has all day, every day. Eric worked all nights. They did not need anyone else except maybe Charlie. What had happened was this. One of the managers had left, supposedly to have a baby, although she had not looked in the last bit pregnant. Batu said, and besides, it was clearly not Batu's kid because of the vasectomy. Then shortly after the incident in the transport, the other manager had quit, claiming to be sick of that kind of sick. No one was sent to replace him. So Batu had stepped in. The door went and a customer came into the store. Canadian, not a zombie. Al turned around in time to see Batu duck down, sweeping around the corner of the candy assay and heading towards the storage closet. The customer bought a Mountain Dew. Al, too disheartened to explain the cash was no longer necessary. He could feel Batu fretting in the storage closet, listening to this old-style retail transaction. When the customer was gone, Batu came out again. Do you ever wonder? Eric said, if the company will ever send another manager. He saw again the dream Batu, the dream managers, the cartoonist, unbelievable gap of the Oscar chest. They won't, Batu said. They might, Eric said. They won't, Batu said. How do you know for sure? Eric said. What if they do? It was a bad idea in the first place, Batu said. He gestured toward the parking lot and the civil charge. Not enough steady business. So why do we stay here? Eric said. How do we change the face of retail if nobody ever comes in here except joggers and truckers and zombies and Canadians? I mean, I tried to explain about how new style retail worked the other night to this woman, and she told me to fuck off. She acted like I was insane. The customer is not always right. Sometimes the customer is an asshole. That's the first rule of retail, Batu said. But it is not like anywhere else is better. I used to work for CIA. Believe me, this is better. Were you really in the CIA? Eric said. We used to go to this bar sometimes. Me and the people I worked with, Batu said. Only we have to pretend that we don't know no fraternizing. So we all sit there along the bar and don't say a word to each other. All these guys, all of us, we could speak maybe 500 languages, dialects, whatever between us. But we don't talk in this bar. Just sit and drink and sit and drink. Used to drive the bartender crazy. We used to leave nice tips. Did not matter to him. So did you ever kill people? Alex said. He never knew whether or not Batu was joking about the CIA thing. Do I look like a killer? Batu said. Standing there in his pajamas, rumpled and wet-eyed, when Eric burst out laughter. He smiled and yawned and scratched his head. When other employees had quit all night for various reasons of their own, Batu had not replaced them. Around this same time, Batu's girlfriend had kicked him out, and with Eric's permission, he He had moved into the storage closet that has been just before Christmas, and it was a few days after Christmas when Eric's mother lost her job as a security guard at the mall and decided she was going to go find Eric's father. She had gone hunting online and made a list of names she thought he might be going under. She had addresses as well. Eric was not sure what she was going to do if she found his father, and he did not think she knew either. She said she just wanted to talk, but Eric knew she kept a gun in the glove compartment of her car. Before she left, Eric had copied down her list of names and addresses and sent out Christmas cards to all of them. It was the first time he had ever had a reason to send out Christmas cards, and it had been difficult finding the right things to say in them, especially since they probably were not his father. No matter what his mother thought, not all of them anyway. Before she left, Eric's mother had put most of the furniture in storage. She had sold everything else, including Eric's guitar and his books at a yard sale one Saturday morning, while Eric was working on a shift at the all night. The rent was still paid through the end of January, but after his mother left, Eric had worked longer and longer hours at the store, and then one morning he did not bother going home. The all night and Batu. They needed him. Batu said this attitude showed Eric was destined for great things at the all night. Every night Batu sent off faxes to the World Weekly News and to the National Enquirer and to the New Yorker Times. These faxes concerned the Oscar chess and the zombies. Someday someone would send reporters. It was all part of the plan, which was going to change the way retail worked. It was going to be a whole different world, and Eric and Batu were going to be right there at the beginning. They were going to be famous heroes, revolutionary heroes of the revolution. Batu said that Eric did not need to understand that part of the plan yet. It was essential to the plan that Eric did not ask questions. When will you come back? The zombies were like Canadians, in that they looked enough like real people at first to fool you. But when you looked closer, you saw they were from some other place where things were different, where even the things that went on everywhere were just a little bit different. The zombies did not talk at all, or they said things that did not make sense. Wooden hat, one zombie said to Eric. Glass leg, drove around all day in my bike. Did you ever hear me on the radio? They tried to pay Eric for things that the all night did not say. Real people, the ones who were not heading towards Canada or away from Canada, mostly had better things to do than drive out to the all night at 3 a.m. So real people, in a way, were even weirder. When they came in, Eric kept a close eye on the real people. Once a guy had pulled a gun on him. There was no way to understand that, but on the other hand, you knew exactly what was going on. With the zombies, who knew? Not even Batu knew what the zombies were up to. Sometimes he said that they were just another thing you had to deal with in retail. They were the kind of customer that you could not even ever satisfy, the kind of customer who wanted something you could not give them, who had no other currency except currency that was sinister, unwholesome, confusing, and probably dangerous. Meanwhile, the things that the zombies tried to purchase were plainly things that they had brought with them into the store, things that had fallen or been thrown into the Oscival chest like pieces of safety glass, rocks from the bottom of Oscival chest, beetles the zombies like tiny things, broken things, trash like empty soda bottles, handful of leaves, sticky dirt, dirty sticks. Eric thought maybe Batu had it wrong. Maybe it was not supposed to be a transaction. Maybe the zombies just wanted to give Eric something. But what was he going to do with their leaves? Why him? What was he supposed to give them in return? Eventually, when it was fear, Eric did not understand. The zombies drifted off, away from the counter and away and around the ashes again, or out the door, making their way like raccoons, scuttling back across the road, still clutching their lips. Batu would put away his notebook, go into the storage closet and send off his faxes. The zombie customers made Eric feel guilty. He had not been trying hard enough. The zombies were never rude or impatient or tried to shoplift things. He hoped that they found what they were looking for. After all, he would be dead someday too, and on the other side of the counter. Maybe his friend David had been telling the truth and there was a country down there that you could visit, just like Canada. Maybe when the zombies got all the way to the bottom, they got into jeepy zombie cars and drove off to their zombie jobs or back home again to their sexy zombie wives. Or maybe they went off to the zombie bank to make their deposits of stones, leaves, linty, words, nasty, tangles, all the other debris real people did not know the value of. It was not just the zombies. Weird stuff happened in the middle of the day too. There were still managers and other employers. Once on Batu's shift, a guy had come in wearing a trench coat and a hat. Outside it must have been 90 degrees, and Batu admitted he had felt a little spooked about the trench coat thing. But there was another customer, a jogger, poking at the bottled waters. Coldest trench coat guy walked around the store, putting candy bars and safety razors in his pockets, like he was getting ready for Halloween. Batu had thought about punching the alarm. Sir, he said, excuse me, sir. The man walked up and stood in front of the counter. Batu could not take his eyes off the trench coat. It was like the guy was wearing an electric fan strapped to his chest under the trench coat, and the fan was blowing things around underneath. You could hear the fan buzzing. It made sense, Batu had thought. This guy had his own air conditioning unit under there, pretty near, although you still would not want to go trick or treating at this guy's house. Hot enough for you, the man said, and Batu saw that this guy was sweating. He twisted, and a bee flew out of the grey trench coat sleeves. Batu and the man both watched it fly away. Then the man opened his trench coat, wrapped his arms gently, and the bees inside his trench coat began to leave the man in long, clotted, furious trails until the whole store was vibrating with crowds of bees. Batu ducked under the counter. Trenchcoat man, bee guy, reached over the counter, dipped the register in a calm and experienced way, so that the drawer popped open and scooped all the bills out of the till. Then he walked back out again and wrapped all his bees. He got in his car and drove away. That's the way that all night stories end, with someone driving away. But they had to get a beekeeper to come in to smoke the bees out. Batu got stung 3 times, once on leg, once on his stomach, and once when he put his hand into the register and found no money, only a bee. The jogger sued the all-night parent company for a lot of money, and Batu and Eric did not know what had happened with that. When does it get dark? Eric has been having this dream recently. In the dream, he is up behind the counter in the all night, and then his father is walking down the aisle of the all night, past the racks of magazines and towards the counter. His father's hands full of stones from the oscillator charts, which is ridiculous. His father is alive, and not only that, but living in another state, maybe in a different time zone, probably under a different name. When he told Batu about it, Batu said, "Oh, that dream. I have had it too." "About your father," Alex said. "About your father," Batu said. "Who do you think I meant my father?" "You have not ever met my father," Alex said. "I'm sorry if it upsets you. But it was definitely your father," Batu said. You look just like him. If I dream about him again, what do you want me to do? Ignore him. Pretend he is not there." When Batu was pulling his leg, dreams could be a touchy subject, Eric thought. Maybe Batu was nostalgic about sleeping. Maybe Batu collected pajamas in the way that people nostalgic about their childhoods collected toys. Another dream, one that Eric has not told Batu about. In this dream, Charlie comes in. He wants to buy a Mountain Dew, but then Eric realizes that all the Mountain Dews have little brown dogs floating in them. You can win a prize if you drink one of the dog sodas. When Charlie gets up to the counter with an armful of doggy Mountain Dew, Eric realizes that he has got one of Batu's pajama tops on. One of the inside out ones. Things are rubbing against his arms, his back, his stomach, transferring themselves like tattoos to his skin. And he has not got any pants on. "I am interested in sunken ships. You need to make your move," Batu said. He said it over and over, day after day, until Eric was sick of hearing it. Any day now the settler is going to find someone to replace her and Charlie. Bill Spirit. "Tell you what you should do. You tell her you want to adopt a dog. Give it a home. We have got room here. Dogs are good practice for when you and Charlie are parents." "How do you know?" Eric said. He knew he sounded exasperated. He could not help it. That makes no sense at all. If dogs are good practice, then what kind of mother is Charlie going to be? What are you saying? "So say, Charlie has a kid. You are saying she is going to put it down if it cries at night or wets the bed." "That's not what I am saying at all," Batu said. "The only thing I am worried about, Eric, really is whether or not Charlie may be too old. It takes longer to have kids when you are her age. Things can go wrong." "What are you talking about?" Eric said. "Charlie is not old." "How old do you think she is?" Batu said. "So what do you think? Should the toothpaste and the condiments go next to the almonds glue and the hair gel and lubricants make a shelf of sticky things? Or should I put it with the chewing tobacco and the mouthwash and make a little display of things that use it?" "Sure," Alex said. "Make a little display. I don't know how old Charlie is. Maybe she is my age, 19. A little older." Batu laughed. "A little older? So how do you think I am?" "I don't know," Alex said. He squinted at Batu. 35, 40. Batu looked pleased. "You know, since I started sleeping less, I think I have stopped getting older. I may be getting younger. You keep on getting a good night's sleep and we are going to be the same age pretty soon. Come take a look at this and tell me what you think." "Not bad," Alex said. "We could put watermelons with this stuff too. If we had watermelons, the kind with seeds." "What's the point of seedless watermelons?" "It's not such a big deal," Batu said. He knelt down in the ashes, marking off inventory on his clipboard. "No big thing. If Charlie is older than you think. Nothing wrong with older women, and it's good you are not bothered about the ghost dogs or the biting things. Even got problems. The only real concern I have is about my car, about her car." "What about her car?" Alex said. "Well," Batu said, "it is not a problem if she is going to live here. She can park it here for as long as she wants. That's what the parking lot is for. But whatever you do, if she invites you to go for a ride, don't go for a ride." "Why not?" Alex said. "What are you talking about?" Think about it, Batu said. All those dog ghosts. He scooted down the acid on his butt. Eric bent after him. Every time she drives by here with some poor dog, that dog is doomed. That car is bad luck. The passenger side especially. You want to stay out of that car. I had rather climb down into the acid chassis. Something cleared its throat. A zombie had come into the store. It stood behind Batu, looking down at him. Batu looked up. Eric retreated down the acid towards the counter. Stay out of her car, Batu said, ignoring the zombie. And who will be fired out of the cannon? The zombie said it was wearing a suit and tie. My brother will be fired out of the cannon. Why can't you talk like sensible man, pupil? Batu said, turning around and looking up, sitting on the floor. He sounded as if he were about to cry. He sweated at the zombie. The zombie coughed again, yawning. It grimaced at them. Something was snagged on its grey lips now, and the zombie put up its hand. It tugged, dragging at the thing in its mouth, coughing out a black, glistening, beaded book. The zombie's mouth stayed open, as if to show that there was nothing else in there. Even as it held the wet black rope out to Batu, the bad thing hung down from its hands and became pajamas. Batu looked back at Al. I don't want them, he said. He looked sad. What should I do? Eric said. He hovered by the matches. Charlie's pair on was grinning at him, as if she knew something he did not. You should not be here. It was not clear to Eric whether Batu was speaking to the zombie. I have all the pajamas I need. The zombie said nothing. It dropped the pajamas into Batu's lap. Stay out of Charlie's car, Batu said to Eric. He closed his eyes and began to snore. Shit, Eric said to the zombie. How did you do that? There was another zombie in the store. The first zombie took Batu's arm and the second zombie took Batu's feet. They dragged him down the acid and towards the store's closet. Eric came out from behind the corner. What are you doing? He said. You are not going to eat him, are you? But the zombies had Batu in the closet. They put the black pajamas on him, yanking them over the other pair of pajamas. They lifted Batu up onto the mattress and put the blanket over him, up to his chin. Eric followed the zombies out of the store's closet. He shut the door behind him. So I guess he is going to sleep for a while, he said. That's a good thing, right? He needed to get some sleep. So how did you do that with the pajamas? Is there some kind of freaky pajama factory down there? The zombies ignored Eric. They held hands and bent down the acid, stopping to consider candy bars and Tampax and toilet papers and all the things that used it. They would not buy anything. They never did. Eric went back to the counter. He wished very badly that his mother still lived in their apartment. He would have liked to call someone. He sat behind the register for a while, looking through the phone book, just in case he came across someone's name and it seemed like a good idea to call them. Then he went back to the store's closet and looked at Batu. Batu was snoring. His eyelids twitched and there was a tiny knowing smile on his face, as if he were dreaming and everything was being explained to him at last in his dream. It was hard to feel worried about someone who looked like that. Eric would have been jealous, except he knew that no one ever managed to hold on to those explanations. Once you woke up, not even Batu. Which is the shorter route? Which is the easier route? Charlie came by at the beginning of her shift. She did not come inside the all night. Instead, she stood out in the parking lot beside her car, looking out across the road at the Osiva chassis. The car hung low to the ground, as if the trunk were full of things. When Eric went outside, he saw that there was a suitcase in the back seat. If there were ghost dogs, Eric could not see them, but there were doggy smudges on the windows. Where's the Batu? Charlie said. Asleep, Eric said. He realized that he had never figured out how the conversation would go after that. He said, are you going someplace? I'm going to work, Charlie said, like normal. Good. Alex said. Normal is good. He stood and looked at his feet. A zombie wandered into the parking lot. It nodded at them and went into the all night. Are not you going to go back inside? Charlie said. In a bit, Alex said, it's not like they ever buy anything. But he kept an eye on the all night and the zombie, in case it headed towards the store's closet. So how old are you? Alex said. I mean, can I ask you that? How old you are? How old are you? Charlie said right back. I'm almost 20, Alex said. I know I look older. No, you don't, Charlie said. You look exactly like you are almost 20. So how old are you? Alex said again. How old do you think I am? Charlie said. About my age? Alex said. Are you flirting with me? Charlie said. Yes. No. How about in dog years? How old would you say I am in dog years? The zombie finished looking for whatever it was, looking for inside the armor. It came outside and nodded to Charlie and Anne. Beautiful pupil, it said. Why won't you ever visit my hand? I'm sorry, Alex said. The zombie turned its back on them. It tottered across the road, looking neither to the left nor to the right, and went down the footpath into the Oswald. Have you? Charlie said. She pointed at the path. No, Alex said. I mean someday I will, I guess. Do you think they have pets down there? Dogs? Charlie said. I don't know, Alex said. Regular dogs. The thing I think about sometimes, Charlie said, is whether or not they have animal shelters, and if someone has to look after the dogs, if someone has to have a job where they put dogs down there, and if you do put dogs to sleep down there, then where do they wake up? Batu says that if you need another job, you can come live with us at the all night. Alex said. His lips felt so cold that it was hard to talk. Is that what Batu says? Charlie said. She started to laugh. Batu likes you, Alex said. I like him too, Charlie said. But I don't want to live in a convenience store. No offense. I'm sure it's nice. It's okay, Alex said. I don't want to work retail my whole life. There are worse jobs, Charlie said. She leaned against her Chevy. Maybe I will stop by later tonight. We could always go for a long drive. Go somewhere else and talk about retail. Like where? Where are you going? Alex said. Are you thinking about going to Turkey? Is that why Batu is teaching you Turkish? He wanted to stand there and ask Charlie question all night long. I want to learn Turkish so that when I go somewhere else, I can pretend to be Turkish. I can pretend I only speak Turkish. That way no one will bother me. Charlie said. Oh, Alex said. Good plan. We could always go somewhere and not talk if you want to practice. Or I could talk to you and you could pretend you don't understand what I'm saying. We don't have to go for a ride. We could just go across the road, go down into the chasm. I have never been down there. It's not a big deal, Charlie said. We can do it some other time. Suddenly she looked much older. No, wait, Alex said. I do want to come with you. We can go for a ride. It's just that Batu is asleep. Someone has to look after him. Someone has to awake to sell stuff. So are you going to work there your whole life? Charlie said. Take care of Batu, figure out how to rip off that pupil. What do you mean? Alex said. Batu says the all night is thinking about opening up another store down. Charlie said, waving across the road. You and he are this big experiment in retail. According to him, once the all night figures out what that pupil want to buy, it's going to be like the discovery of America all over again. It's not like that, Alex said. He could feel his voice going up at the end as it were a question. He could almost smell what Batu meant about Charlie's car, the ghost, those dogs, but getting impatient. You could tell that they were tired of the parking lot. They wanted to be going for a ride. You don't understand. I don't think you understand. Batu said that you have a real way with dead people, Charlie said. Most retail clerks flip out. Of course you are from around here. Plus you are young. You probably don't even understand about death yet. You are just like my dogs. I don't know what they want, Alex said. The zombies. Nobody ever really knows what they want, Charlie said. Why should that change after you die? Good point, Alex said. You should not let Batu mess you around so much, Charlie said. I should not be saying all this. I know Batu and I are friends, but we could be friends too, you and me. You are sweet. It's okay that you don't talk much, although this is okay to us talking. Why don't you come for a drive with me? If there had been dogs inside her car or the ghost of dogs, then Eric would have heard them howling. Eric heard them howling. The dogs were telling him to get lost. They were telling him to fuck off. Charlie belonged to them. She was their murderer. I can't, Eric said, longing for Charlie to ask him. Not right now. Well, that's okay. I will stop later. Stop by later, Charlie said. She smiled at him, and for a moment he was standing in that city where no one ever figured out how to put out that fire, and all the dead dogs howled again and scratched at the smelly windows. For a Mountain Dew so you can think about it for a while. She reached out and took Eric's hand in her hand. Your hands are cold, she said. Her hands were hot. You should go back inside. I don't like the color. It was already 4 a.m. and there still was not any sign of Charlie when Batu came out of the back room. He was rubbing his eyes. The black pajama was gone. Now Batu was wearing pajama bottom, with foxes running across a field towards a tree with a circle of foxes sitting on their haunches around it. The outstretched tails of the running foxes were fat as javelins, with commas of flame hovering over them. Each little flame had a Hindenburg inside it, with a second literal flame above it, and so on. Some fires you just can't put out. The pajama top was a color that Eric could not name. Very creeping shapes lay upon it. Eric had read Lovecraft. He felt uneasy when he looked at the pajama top. I just had the best dream, Batu said. You have been asleep for almost 6 hours, Eric said. When Charlie came, he would go with her. He would stay with Batu. Batu needed him. He would go with Charlie. He would go and come back. He would not ever come back. He would send Batu postcards with beers on them. So what was all that about with the zombies? I don't know what you are talking about, Batu said. He took an apple from the food display and polished it on his non-Euclidean pajama top. The apple took on a horrid, whispery scene. Had Charlie come by? Yeah, Eric said. He and Charlie would go to Las Vegas. They would buy Batu gold lame pajama. I think you are right. I think she is about to leave town. Well, she can't, Batu said. That's not the plan here, I tell you. What we will do? You go outside and wait for her. Make sure she does not get up. She is not wanted by the police, Batu, Eric said. She does not belong to us. She can leave town if she wants to. And you are okay with that, Batu said. He yawned ferociously and yawned away, and stretched so that the pajama top heaved up in a air-rich manner. Eric closed his eyes. Not really, Eric said. He had already picked out a toothbrush, some toothpaste and some novelty teeth left over from Halloween, which he could give to Charlie. Maybe. Are you okay? Are you going to fall asleep again? Can I ask you some questions? What kind of question? Batu said, lowering his eyelids in a way that seemed both sleepy and cunning. Questions about our mission, Eric said. About the all night and what we are doing here next to the possible chance. I need to understand what just happened with the zombies and the pajamas, and whether or not what happened is part of the plan, and whether or not the plan belongs to us, or whether the plan was planned by someone else and we are just somebody else's big experiment in retail? Are we brand new or are we just the same old thing? This is not good time for questions, what you said. In all the time that we have worked here, have I lied to you? Have I read you astray? Well, Alex said, that's what I need to know. Perhaps I have not told you everything. What you said, but that's part of the plan. When I said that we were going to make everything new again, that we were going to reinvent retail, I was telling the truth. The plan is still the plan, and you are still part of the plan, and so is Charlie. What about the pajamas? Eric said. What about the Canadian and the maple syrup and the people who come in to buy Mountain Dew? You need to know of this, Batu said. Yes, Eric said. Absolutely. Okay then, my pajamas are experimental CIA pajamas. Batu said, like batteries. You have been charging them for me when you see. That's all I can say right now. Forget about the Canadians. These pajamas the zombies just gave me. Do you have any idea what this means? Eric shook his head no. What you said, never mind. Do you know what we need now? What do we need? Eric said. We need you to go outside and wait for Charlie. What you said. We don't have time for this. It's getting early. Charlie gets off work anytime. Now, explain all of that again, Eric said. What you just said, explain a plan to me one more time. Look, Batu said. Listen, everybody is alive at first. Right. Right, Eric said. And everybody dies, Batu said. Right. Right, Eric said. A car drove by, but it still was not Charlie. So everybody starts here. Batu said. Not here in the all night, but somewhere else. Here where we are. Where we live now. Where we live is here. The word right. Right, Alex said. Okay, and where we go is there. Batu said, flicking a finger towards the wall. Out there, down into the possible charts. Everybody goes there. And here we are. Here, the all night, which is on the way to there. Right, Alex said. So it is like the Canadians. Batu said, people are going someplace and if they need something, they can stop here to get it. But we need to know what they need. This is a whole new unexplored demographic. So they stuck the all night right here, lit it up like a Christmas tree and waited to see who stopped in and what they bought. I should not be telling you this. This is all need to know information only. You mean the all night or the CIA or whoever needs us to figure out how to sell things to zombies, Alison. Forget about the CIA. What you said. Now will you go outside? But is it our plan? Or are we just following someone else's plan? Why does that matter to you? What you say? He put his hands on his head and tugged at his hair until it stood straight up. But Eric refused to be intimidated. I thought we were on a mission, Eric said, to help mankind, womankind too, like the Starship Enterprise. But how are we helping anybody? What's new style retail about this? Eric, Batu said. Did you see those pajamas? Look, on second thought. Forget about the pajama, you never saw them. Like I said, this is bigger than the all night. There are bigger fish that are busy. You know what I mean. No, Eric said. I don't. Excellent. Batu said, his experimental CIA pajama top withered and boiled. Your job is to be helpful and polite. Be patient. Be careful. Wait for the zombies to make the next move. I sent off some faxes. Meanwhile, we still need Charlie. Charlie is a natural born saleswoman. She has been selling that for years and she has got a real gift for languages. She will be speaking zombie in no time. Think what kind of work she could do here. Go outside. When she drives by, you flag her down. Talk to her, explain why she needs to come alive here. But whatever you do, don't get in the car with her. That car is full of ghosts. The wrong kinds of ghosts. The kind who are never going to understand the least little thing about meaningful transactions. I know, I said, I could smell them. So are we clear on all this? Batu said. Or maybe you think I am still lying to you. I don't think you had lied to me exactly. Eric said. He put on his jacket. You are like a son to me, which is why I tell you to put on your hat. And if I lie to you, it would be for your own good, because I love you like a son. One day, Eric, all of this will be yours. Just trust me and do what I tell you. Trust the plan. Eric said nothing but patted him on the shoulder, pulled on all night shirt over his pajama top, and grabbed a banana and a snapper. He sat in behind the counter. His hair was still standing straight up, but at 4 a.m., who was going to complain? Not Eric, not the zombies. Eric put on his hat, gave a little wave to Batu, which was either glad, be cleared, or that up at last, or else so wrong. He was not sure which, and walked out of the all night. This is the last time he thought. I will ever walk through this door. He did not know how he felt about that. Eric stood outside in the parking lot for a long time. Out in the bushes on the other side of the road, he could hear the zombies hunting for the things that were valuable to other zombies. Some woman, a real person but not Charlie, drove into the parking lot. She went inside and Eric thought he knew what Batu would say to her when she went to the counter. Batu would explain when she tried to make her purchase that he did not want money. That was not what retail was really about. What Batu would want to know was what this woman really wanted. It was that simple, that complicated. Batu might try to recruit this woman if she did not seem litigious, and maybe that was a good thing. Maybe the all night really did need woman. Eric walked backward, away, and then even farther away from the all night. The farther he got, the more beautiful he saw it was. It was all lit up like the moon. Was this what the zombie saw? What Charlie saw when she drove by? He could not imagine how anyone could leave it behind and never come back. He wondered if Batu had a pair of pajamas in his collection with all-night convenience store and the light spilling out. The Osiba Chasma road with zombies and Charlies in Chevys, a different dog hanging out of every passenger window, driving down that road, down on one leg of those pajamas, down the road a long way. There would be bears dressed up in ice, Canadians, CIA operatives and tabloid reporters and all-night executives, Las Vegas sober, G-man and B-man in trench coats, his mother's car always getting farther and farther away. He wondered if zombies were zombie pajamas, both zombie pajamas, or if they had just invented them for Batu. He tried to picture Charlie wearing silk pajamas and a flannel bathrobe, but she did not look comfortable in them. She still looked miserable and angry and hopeless, much older than Eric had ever realized. He jumped up and down in the parking lot, trying to keep warm. The woman, when she came out of the store, gave him a funny look. He could not see Batu behind the counter. Maybe he had fallen asleep again, or maybe he was sending off more faxes. But Eric did not go back inside the store. He was afraid of Batu's pajamas. He was afraid of Batu. He stayed outside waiting for Charlie. But a few hours later, when Charlie drove by, he was standing on the curb, keeping an eye out for her. She was not going to just slip away. He was determined to see her, not to miss, to make sure that she saw him, to make her take him with her. Whenever she was going, there was a Labrador in the passenger seat. The back seat of her car was full of dogs, weird dogs and ghost dogs, and all of the dogs poking their doggy noses out of the windows at him. There would not have been room for him, even if he had been able to make her stop. But he went out in the road always. Anyway, like a damn dog, chasing after her car for as long as he could. Thank you very much for listening. This is the end of the